Hi everyone, it's Petra here from Petra Fisher Movement, and I'm here to talk about mobility for sitting on the floor. Now, mobility is a big picture thing, and your individual mobility challenges may be unique to you. As a general rule, when I think about mobility, I always start with controlled articular rotations, CARs, which I teach separately in my Joints for Life program. However, hopefully you've got that program. If not, I'm still going to show you 4 really great mobility tools that are going to help you get more comfortable with getting into floor sitting positions. So most people find their barrier could be their hips, it could be their knees bending a lot, it could be their toes. So this kind of deep extension for your toes. These are all really useful pieces of mobility. So they're good to work on even if you have no problem getting down on the floor. And I thought I would start with toes. So there's a few ways, there's lots of ways to work on mobility, but I'm going to show you a couple setups. So we really actually in walking need our toes to be able to bend backwards a fair bit. And you'll find that as well on the ground, especially for kneeling type positions. You're going to need that backwards bend. It's called big toe extension. Many of us are limited there. And of course, the culprit is our shoes. And sometimes that's a limit that we can't change. Sometimes there's a bony barrier there. If you have been told you have hallux rigidus, you probably can't do a whole ton about it. But other than that, there's a lot you can do. So here's one technique. I'm setting myself up here using my half round foam roller, and I'm just bending my toes back against the roller. If you don't have a roller, you can use a rolled up towel for this. You can use the ground for this. So you can just reach backward with your foot, bend back from your toes, and give yourself like a nice toe stretch this way. Once you're in your toe stretch, what's nice to do is to make it active. So mobility work tends to be a combination of flexibility work where you're just giving yourself a stretch with some strengthening work, which is what helps your body get comfortable in your new ranges of motion and opens up more control and capacity in your ranges of motion. So you always want to think stretch plus strength for the best results. So here I am stretching my toes. What am I going to do to strengthen them? What I'm going to do is I'm going to start pressing back into the ground like I'm trying to straighten my toes. Just so you know, my front foot is irrelevant here. I've got it on my half dome, but I don't need to. So I'm going to move it just to show you. So what I'm really focusing on here is pressing my toes into the ground. The tips of my toes have all gone white. That is a sign that they are working, and that's totally okay if that happens to you. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to try to pull my toes towards the top of my foot. So now instead of trying to straighten my toes, I'm trying to bend them more by using the top of my foot. So I'm pulling in. It doesn't look like I'm doing anything. It's because it's isometric work at my end range of motion. So you don't move, you just work. And then you're going to finish just by relaxing and maybe going a little deeper into your stretch. Because what often happens when you do this kind of push-pull work is your body gives you more range of motion because it feels safe and comfortable there now that it's done some work. So that's the goal. So there you go. That's the version with my foot on the ground. I'm going to show you with my foot on the roller as well. So let's switch sides. For the roller, set yourself up. I love half rollers. I'll put a link in the notes here so you can get your own. You could do this on a ball, you could do this on a wall, whatever works for you that helps you bend your toes back a good amount. A slant board would be great for this too. So if you want a little bit more, what you do is you lift up your heel like you're going to take a step. And this is your stretch. Hold your stretch for 20 seconds to 2 minutes is kind of ideal. 20 seconds helps your brain and nervous system relax. Another tool you should absolutely use when you're stretching is your breathing. Nice deep breath in, make your breath out longer. Your longer breath out helps you relax, and what we want is nervous system relaxation. Once you've done that for 20 seconds or 2 minutes, you're going to activate. And you're going to activate by pressing your toes down like you're trying to straighten them out. Don't move because you're pushing into something, whether it's the floor or whatever object you found. And then you're going to reverse it. You're going to pull your toes back towards your foot. Pulling nice and hard, but not so much that it feels unsafe to you. So the harder you pull and push, the more changes you're going to make, but don't go so enthusiastically that you hurt yourself. You're going to relax. And you can do this 2 or 3 times. I'm going to stop there. That's your toe push-pull tool. Really useful for your floor sitting, also really great for your walking. Now let's move to our knees. Now this is another one that we're gonna do some stretching and then we're gonna do some mobility work. Now I forgot my yoga strap today and I'm just gonna show you how easy it is to use anything you have around because I do have my sarong. So I'm gonna put my sarong around my ankle and I'm gonna pull my ankle towards my bottom. You wanna have your strap or sarong around your shin and not around your foot. And that's because that helps load the front of the leg more. So when we're restricted in bending our knee and flexing our knee like this, often the issue is that our thighs, our quad muscles are a bit too used to holding on, being too tense. So we like to stretch them. Often that's sensitive. So if this is already hurting you, what you're gonna do is you're gonna not go as far. You're gonna find the place where it doesn't hurt. So this happened to me when I first started doing this work. It hurt to bend my knee too much. So you just find the place you can work and you work there. That's your stretch. Okay? This is a pretty technical stretch to get right. So I'm gonna show you one thing. My knee is not in front of my other knee here. It's knees next to each other. It's almost like I was still standing, and the only thing that's different about me standing on one leg or two legs is what's happening below the knee on my stretching leg. So you want to really be a nice straight up and down human. That also means don't slop into your standing hip. You want to pull that in actively. That's a great hip exercise anyway. So you get kind of a twofer with this one. So let's finish that stretch. Let's go to the other side. Try not to get tangled up in your beautiful shawl or whatever you're using. A yoga strap works really well for this. I don't necessarily recommend using your hands because often what happens when you use your hands is you start doing wonky stuff like this if your thighs are too short. So by sticking your knee out to the side, you're giving yourself more capacity, but what you're not doing is actually lengthening much on the front of your leg. You're just using your hip and your spine and whatever. So use your stuff to help you load really specifically through the front of your leg. And that's why you want your legs to look like standing legs. That means next to each other from the side and from the front. You're pushing down with the standing hip so it's not slopping out to the side. And here you're using that same breath tool. Nice slow breath in, even slower breath out. So whenever you're stretching, use your breath as part of your practice to get better results. Oops. I'm going to fall over here. So let's switch sides again. We're going to go back to the first side. This is where we're going to start making things active. And this is quite a difficult movement for a lot of people, so don't worry about it if you cramp. That's common. What this is going to do is it's going to help you create stronger hamstrings, and that's always a good thing. So what you're going to do is you're going to come into the exact same stretch, and you're going to make it as deep as is comfortable for you. And then what you're going to do is you're going to start pulling your heel in towards your butt actively. So you're going to make this active, and then you're going to drop your strap, but not let your leg move. So now you're using the back of your leg like you're squeezing a lemon in between your knee and your thigh to hold that there. Hold, 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 and then you can relax that out. So you can do about 3 of those. Hold for about 10 to 15 seconds on either side. That's going to be a great way to get a little bit more active mobility into your knee flexion. So same thing on the other side. With this, you're going to always start by stretching because the stretch helps you get into a deeper range of motion. So that stretch, 20 seconds to 2 minutes, you're holding, you're breathing, you're relaxing. And then we're going to activate. So now we're pulling our heel in towards our butt as hard as we can. Really use the back of your leg. Squeeze a lemon in between your calf and your thigh. Let go of your strap. Don't let your leg move at all. Hold, 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 hold. And then slowly relax that out. And again, cramping is quite normal here. Cramping is just a sign that your body's a little bit confused by doing something hard in a new place. So it's uncomfortable sometimes, but don't let it worry you. You can stay in it or you can take a break. I would do about 3 of those on either side. Now let's talk about hips. So hips is huge. Hip mobility is huge. I love teaching about hip mobility, and all my courses have a lot of hip mobility work in them. And many of them start this way. So find a wall. This wall is a little rough, so I'm going to actually put my hands behind my butt here. I recommend finding a smooth wall so that you don't need to protect your pants from being frayed by the wall. Because the goal of using the wall here is that I want you to start bending forward and standing back up and seeing what it feels like as your butt slides on the wall. So as you can see, my legs are a little wide here. You can have your legs hip distance apart as well. I like wide because it gives you a slightly different stretch. So you can actually pick the distance of your legs. What we really care about most here is feeling how when you bend forward, your sit bones actually slide upwards on the wall. And then as you stand up, your sit bones slide back down. So from the side here, what we're doing is tilting our sit bones up, coming back down. What I'm trying to do here is to fold at my hip crease as though I'm a Barbie doll. I'm not moving my spine a lot. So I'm not doing a deep, curled forward bend. That's fine, but what it's not doing is a whole lot of hamstring and hip movement. And here, because one of the barriers for our floor sitting is hamstrings and hips, we want to think, get more hips and hamstrings. So we want to get good at folding forward just at our hips. And that's why the wall is so great, because if you can feel your hips slide up on the wall, and you might have to adjust your feet so they're, a few inches away from the wall, you're sliding your hips, actually your sit bones up on the wall. Feel them slide up. When they stop moving, you've gone far enough, and then you can slowly come up and feel the work coming up. So this is nice to do after the quad work we just did, because now we're stretching out our hamstrings. As we bend forward, they're lengthening and they're controlling our way down. So go nice and slowly on the way down. Pause at the bottom now with your sit bones as high as possible on the wall. No tension in your low back. Now start to pretend you want to stand up without actually standing up, and then stand up and see if you can feel the backs of your legs working. And if you can, that's awesome. And if you can't, that's what you're going to practice over time. So let's all try this without the wall. Here you can use your chair. I'm doing this wide-legged for a reason, and we're going to do that reason now. So let your legs be wide as feels comfortable for you. Do your best forward bend at the hips. See if you can feel your sit bones slide like they did on the wall. Put your hands on your chair. Tailbone is lifted. Low back is as relaxed as you can make it. If your low back hurts here, probably work more on relaxing your low back, and maybe learn how to pick up your rib cage, which is something I teach a lot in my courses as well. And then what you're going to do is you're going to slide your butt to the left. Just slide all the way over. Feel a really nice stretch maybe on the inside right thigh. And then you're going to slide over the other way to the left. And feel maybe a nice stretch on the inside of the left thigh. So you're going to just slide back and forth. Still pretend there's the wall behind you. Keep your butt on the wall the whole time. Admittedly, now it's an imaginary wall. But you don't want to be rotating and twisting your pelvis here. You want it to slide straight one way, straight the other way. Nice slow slides. This is probably one of my all-time favorite moves. And this is going to translate directly to your floor sitting by addressing hamstrings, inner thighs, hips. It's a little bit of everything. So I love this one. And it's also actually transfers really well to walking. So this is kind of a really solid exercise. It gives you a lot of benefits for being very simple. Now what you're going to do is you're going to come back to center. Think about standing up by using your legs, and now use your legs to stand back up. Like so. So this is a great move because you can do this one as an exercise like we just did, or you can do it when you're unloading the dishwasher. So you can practice bending forward, you can reach for your stuff, you can get it out, and this is going to help you get the bending you need to hinge down to be very comfortable floor sitting. All right, so now I invite you to join me on the floor. This is a place where you could use some cushions underneath your pelvis like I'm sharing in my bolstering and support video in this series, but you might be happier just with your hands behind you. And I'm going to ask you to take your heels out kind of wide. Your positioning here is up to you. You can have heels a little closer, a little narrower, a little further, a little wider. I encourage you to play with it. This is a place where variety is going to be helpful for you. But I want you to start with your belly button facing straight forward. And what I'd like you to do is keep your belly button facing straight forward and drop one knee in and the other knee out. And then you're going to go the other way. One knee comes in, other knee comes out. This is already feeling really nice to me. You're just going to start windshield wipering. What we're working on now is rotational mobility, and rotational mobility is foundational for our hips. You don't get great hip flexion and hip extension, which are forward and back movements of the hips, without great rotation, and most of us have lost a lot of our rotation. So this is a way to get it back, and all you're doing is you're keeping your belly button forward, pelvis as still as you possibly can make it, and you're just taking your knees in and out. Just for fun, let's try it the other way. I want you to go big. Take your knees all the way. Feel your body twist all the way to the right. And then take your knees, lead with your knees if you can, and have them drag your whole body over. However makes sense to you. You can keep your hands behind you, but let your legs drag your body around. So this is a nice thing to do, but it's not the point. So I want you to now come back to where we were. You can put all your weight into your hands, make it comfortable for you, and you're gonna go back to belly button forward, knees windshield wipering. And as you do this, I want you to think not about allowing your legs to be very relaxed and floppy, but thinking about more pulling elastic bands with your knees, or maybe like you're going through really thick jello with your legs. Doing some work, making it effortful through the whole range of motion. And as you hit the bottom, push a little further into it. So you're not going to go any further. Your body's not going to start moving like it did before. But see if you can just get a little deeper just with what you've got. So see, just press a little bit further. Every time, just ask for a bit more. There, like so. So this is a great way to rebuild your hip rotational mobility. Like I said at the beginning, the hip controlled articular rotations, all the CARs, are a really useful tool. So I encourage you to check out my Joints for Life program. But in the meantime, this is going to give you a really great mobility tool. So that's something for your toes, something for your knees, a few things for your hips. I hope that starts to make floor sitting mobility more accessible to you. It absolutely might not be the whole story. There's a lot of pieces involved, which is why I teach more courses, but hopefully that will at least get you started on the right path and be a nice compact what's the right word? A compact unit for you to work on. So I hope you enjoy this component of my 3-part floor sitting series, and I look forward to hearing what you think about this one and the other classes. You can always find me at Petra Fisher Movement on Instagram and on the internet. See ya.